Alright, I did not expect the Suns to be the team that ends the Spurs win streak, but they must have figured something out in that Jazz game, because that's back-to-back wins in dominant fashion, and once again, it all started defensively. It was obvious their game plan was to limit Wemby's touches as much as possible, and they were able to do that, because first, they had their wings assigned to him and had their bigs as the help, and that just allowed their wings to get underneath his body while their bigs got to cheat off the weak corner as a roamer. Then second, they had the others always in help to tag his rolls or sink in to cover any lobs or passes over top. And then third, whenever the Spurs tried to find him in the post, they were always fronting or denying, and even when he was able to catch the rock, they were always quick to double or even triple, so he wasn't able to exploit any mismatches he might have gotten on a switch. He was basically seeing a crowd at all times, because they were constantly shrinking the floor, and even though his primary defender was Royce, and Williams was the primary low man, the principles remained the same no matter who was on the floor. So the combination of those three factors forced him into being a passer the entire night, especially in the first half. Whenever he tried to force something, or whenever the others on the Spurs tried to force feed him, nothing good came out of it. And the only positives were the others at least capitalizing on his gravity at times, and them also crashing the O-boards for second chance points, because all the shrinking and flying around the Suns had to do made it hard for them to track players. But the Suns were willing to live with those as long as Wemby wasn't the one scoring, so other than those, the Spurs were having to rely on tough finishes or transition opportunities, and those just made it difficult for him to ever establish a rhythm on the night, because those just aren't sustainable for the full 48. They couldn't even crack 100 before garbage time, and all those misses or turnovers just did the complete opposite for the Suns, because those led to them playing with pace, so they got to establish a rhythm on the other end. A lot of that was stemming from Book, because he was always pushing the rock in transition, so the Spurs could not set their defense throughout, and whenever he got downhill to touch paint or came off a screen clean, he was finding shooters. The Spurs were having their bigs drop against him early, and he was just exploiting that space, but even when the Spurs started having their bigs show or having players just flat out sell to force the rock out of his hands, that just opened up the backside advantage. So no matter what coverage they tried on him, he just continued to pick them apart with his passing. It was even somewhat the same whenever Allen or Gillespie had the rock, because those two were also pushing it constantly, and the Spurs stayed in a drop against their screening actions, so both of them got to come off clean to make the right reads the entire night. Once the scramble was triggered, the Spurs stayed in it, because all of the others were decisive on the catch to either shoot, drive, or pass, so the Suns were basically getting whatever they wanted, from sprays, to drop-offs, to swings, and the way the rock was moving just allowed him to maintain that rhythm. There was the same level of aggression on both ends of the floor, so it wasn't a surprise to see him break the game open in the third, and then eventually end it with 4.5 minutes remaining in the fourth. Just watch the tape.
Too wide open again.